But we opened up the segment with that clip from Richard Sherman. Again, highlighting the fact that, hey, you guys could talk about Jared Goff. You could talk about Josh Allen. You look at the statistical season that Joe Burrow is having right now, that dude right there would be the clear-cut MVP if his team hadn't let him down and lost so many games. And that's what got a lot of Bengals fans' attention last night when he made that comment in the postgame.
3,300 yards for Burrow, 30 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, third in the league in QBR at a 74.1. He just won Player of the Month in a month where the Bengals didn't win a game, throwing for 1,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns, and just 1 pick. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do this season. And we always point to the defense, and we say the way he's able to put up all these points, play next to perfect football, and keep the Bengals in these games. Though they do keep losing them, he's keeping the Bengals in these games, having fight, giving the city 110% of everything he has. And that's something that deserves to be applauded. But I think something that we gloss over with the Bengals this season that gives Joe Burrow even more credit to what he's been able to do is, what is he working with offensively that has made this so easy to put up these numbers? Ja'Marr Chase has been great. Move him to the side. Best receiver in football this year, chasing a triple crown. Unbelievable. T. Higgins has missed a lot of time, and we have seen no one else in that wide receiver room take a step up. We've even seen Ja'Marr Chase take a step back in a lot of those games without T. Higgins. You lose Zach Moss, who coming into the season was supposed to be your running back one. Chase Brown was supposed to be the change of pace back. Love Chase Brown. He's been great for us. There have only been 2 non-Chase Brown carries since Zach Moss got hurt. That's not a sustainable backfield. Joe Burrow does not have a great run game. We have a rookie right tackle who has been awesome, and there's a lot to build on, but he's still a rookie, and he still makes mistakes. We have the worst guard duo in football. Ted Karras has played well, but we have the worst guard duo in football, and Orlando Brown has missed time as well at left tackle. This offense, putting up these numbers, leading the league in every stat with this level of help, I think it's being overlooked somehow, what Joe Burrow is doing. I think this season has made Joe Burrow borderline underrated for what he's been able to do this year and statistically put up with the Bengals not getting wins. And I know wins and losses is what matters at the end of the day. And that's what you come back to. And that's why he can't win MVP with these great numbers, a historical season. And he's not going to be able to win MVP because the rest of the team in the front office and the coaching staff let him down. And that's such a shame. And that's what we talked about last night. We could potentially be wasting the best season of our franchise quarterback. There's a very small list of players that have put up multiple seasons of what Joe Burrow is pacing right now. And all of those guys are Hall of Famers or going to be Hall of Famers. And Bengals fans are just kind of sitting here and saying, okay, well, he's doing awesome this year. It's a lost season. He's going to turn around next year and just do it again. And this is our quarterback for the rest of this contract. And maybe it is. Maybe Joe Burrow is one of these generational quarterbacks. I certainly think he is. I certainly think he can string together multiple seasons like this. But what if he can't? What if this prime window of him being the best quarterback in football is only a year or two long, and now you've mashed it with the worst defense in the league? You are wasting potentially your best chance at winning with a historical wide receiver season, a historical edge rush season, and a historical quarterback season, and you're going to get nothing out of it. And that's the shame for Burrow, because could he end his career never winning an MVP after having multiple MVP seasons? Maybe. And that would be such a shame to be looking at in 5 to 7 years or whatever, whenever his time in Cincinnati comes to an end.
At the risk of, I don't want to make the chat mad, and we've been in heated debates in the past, so I'm going to put out the disclaimer that this is not, we don't need to get into a heated debate on this, but let me push back just a little. I think many fans outside of Cincinnati would disagree with you when you say that he has had no help. I think there's a lot of deficiencies on that offense. But when we say take Ja'Marr Chase off to the side, the amount of targets and the amount that he's involved in the offense, and T. Higgins has played in 7 of the 12 games. 5 he has missed, no doubt about it. But and then we've also seen guys like Gesicki. Gesicki is non-existent in this offense right now, but when T has been out for whatever reason, I don't know how you can't balance his numbers when T is out there. But Gesicki, from a statistical standpoint, absorbs some of that when T is out. So I bring this up because I think he has a lot of help in that regards. We did a segment not too long ago where it was like, hey, are they too T and Ja'Marr centric? Because you look at the amount of targets that those two get compared to everybody else. Joe's not even looking at those dudes. And I bring up Josh Allen, who, I don't think Josh Allen or Buffalo Bills fans are going to listen to that and say, well, yeah, poor Joe Burrow. He just doesn't
Right.
have any
No,
help.
and
He has
that's
no
not what
run
I'm
game.
asking for. Yeah.
Yeah. And offensive line's banged up. I say all this to say I'm not discrediting the success that Joe Burrow has had this season, because what I'm about to say is going to sound like I am, but I'm not. Joe Burrow has had to put up the numbers he has had this year because the run game stinks and the defense stinks and they're trailing in games. So he's thrown more passes in the NFL this year than anybody else. If we had a guy that led a team in led the league in scoring in the NBA, and he also took so many more shots than everybody else, we would say it's a high volume. He's fair. A high volume shooter, and that's why. But Joe Burrow, that's much different than basketball. Basketball, you're taking a lot of shots. You're taking a lot of bad shots. Joe Burrow has to pass the ball for this team to be successful. Okay, he has to take a lot. He has to have a lot of passing. So he's throwing the ball more than anybody else, which gives him the opportunity to throw for more yards than everybody else, which benefits Jamar Chase because he's getting more looks and all this. If the Bengals were in closer, and now they're in close games, but if they're in control of games, if they trusted their defense, Joe Burrow's not throwing as much. His yards and everything else is not as inflated as what it is. I don't think Jamar's having as dominant a statistical season than what he's having right now. It sounds like I'm discrediting them. I'm not. I think that a lot of those numbers are inflated, and I think if they were actually – people think that, man, look at those numbers. Imagine how good they would be with those numbers if they had a defense. I don't think those numbers would be as good as they are if they had a defense. I think those numbers are as good as they are because he has to keep going out there. He has to keep throwing. I say all of that to say, of course, he's the best quarterback in the NFL the way he's been playing this season. It looks like it is sad that he has had no help from the defense and just a lot of mistakes made from the coaching staff. Bottom line is do I expect him to repeat these numbers next year? Hopefully he doesn't, because that means he has a better defense. They have a better run game. They're milking the clock a lot. The defense is out there longer. So you may think I'm trying to discredit it. I'm just giving a little pushback, bringing the other side to the equation when it comes to this.
I do absolutely think you're right. I think, and I wasn't asking necessarily for like sympathy from Bills fans or anything for the Bengals not having help. I know what Jamar Chase is. I just think a lot of people look at the Bengals offense and say, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, of course he's putting up these numbers. And that's just not the case. Like there are a lot of deficiencies on this offense that he has to get through. I think this year is the closest he's ever looked in the NFL to LSU Joe Burrow, in terms of what he's doing off platform and playmaking himself and doing it off script. And this is what Bengals fans have wanted to see, and not 4-8, but we've wanted to see Joe work a little bit more off script, I think, and not take sacks. And when he does hold on to the ball, to be able to run, to throw. And he's doing that this year, the best that he's ever done in his career. And it's incredible. But you are absolutely right. I think if the Bengals are going to win a Super Bowl, Joe Burrow can't be having a statistically top 10 quarterback season of all time. You have to have a run game. You have to have a defense that can control the game. And you have to be able to drain the clock. The reason why the Bengals offense is the best in the league passing statistically, and Kinner just said it, it's because Joe Burrow's thrown the ball 20 times more than anyone else. Granted, he has more completions than anyone else, and he's top 10 in completion percentage as well. So he's doing it at a high level regardless of the volume, but he is throwing the ball so much. And that's just a borderline impossible task to ask your quarterback to do week in and week out. I mean, we threw the ball 50 times a game for about a 3-game stretch. That's insane. You have to establish a run game. You have to be more balanced on offense. And I think that the Bengals really got hurt by the Zach Moss injury. Not that the run game was great before then, but the plan they had for the backfield fell through their fingers when he got hurt. And I just don't think Khalil Herbert has shown them what they wanted to see out of him after that trade.
Well, we'll see Joe Burrow on Monday night. He'll be on the road. Monday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys, that's such a great matchup. It's going to be a horrible matchup. And I expect Joe Burrow to put up big numbers. And I mean, what's the line, by the way? Are the Bengals favored?
They are.
They should be.
They are. It was 5.5 yesterday. It is down to 5. So Bengals -5. I believe it opened at 6.
Okay. Which is weird that it went backwards, only because I heard the Cowboys lost their top offensive lineman.
Yeah.
But we've seen Cooper Rush put up big numbers against this defense when it was slightly better in the past. So who knows what he could potentially do Monday night. I think these teams are actually kind of similar. I think Dallas has a better defense, but I think they're pretty similar when you look at the fact that they have well-known stars on the outside at wide receiver. Both teams struggling to really run the football. Dak would make this almost more of a mirrored image of one another, to be honest, if he was out there. But Cooper Rush he has the capability to put up big numbers. Let's just put it that way. There's some bad
Bengals fans now.
Yeah.
He's done it against us before.
But Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing Am